All right, we have another OpenSpace fireside chat with us today. We have David Holt over at Wilkie Sanderson. Super excited for this one. We've been working with a handful of millwork groups recently over the past year with a lot of success, have partnered with a handful of them with actually the help of Wilkie Sanderson Group and David and the owner, Mark Sanderson, and their connections and helping us get involved in the millwork community. And it's been extremely valuable on our end. We're going to hear from David if it's been valuable on their end as well. So I'll pass the mic over to David and let him introduce himself and Wilkie Sanderson.
Yeah, as I was introduced, I'm David Holt. I've been working for Wilkie Sanderson for about almost 6 years now. Wilkie Sanderson's been around for at least 25. I'm thinking. I know it was bought out by Mark Sanderson and and his partner a number of years ago. So we've got employees that have been here longer than that were with the original company. But yeah, we've been working as commercial cabinetry, millwork installation, and material provider for various contractors around the country. I've traveled as a field superintendent for them, as further south as Miami and as far north as International Falls here in Minnesota, and as far west as Port Angeles and Washington State, and as far east as Annapolis, Maryland. So I've been all over and all around, and yeah, we've found that we've been looking for tech and things like that can help make us more profitable and if not profitable, at least make us more efficient. And that's what Wilkie Sanderson really tries to focus on in this industry.
Yeah, and before we hop into OpenSpace, I'd actually love to hear about Innergy and the product that Wilkie Sanderson actually created that's used by a lot of the millwork community. This is one of the unique groups that we've been able to work with that has been on, I guess you say, like the cutting edge of technology in your space. And so tell us about Wilkie Anderson's kind of getting into tech and then the reason for Innergy, and tell us about that journey.
So Wilkie, to become more efficient, they've always designed programs that our company can use. Things like IC and Site Manager is the one I use the most company right now. And of course, Mark is always innovating and trying to be that. He's a numbers guy, so he looks at what can happen to become more efficient. So he started Innergy to focus the needs of this industry to make people or companies in general, make them more productive and efficient in every aspect of what they're doing, from shop work, shop labor, project managers, estimating, from the beginning to the end, sales all the way down to the installation. And they keep adding more and more. They just came out with a program that you can input design and aspects and have like a 3D overlay of your plans and make your takeoffs from that. And that just was introduced not too long ago at one of the big shows out there in Nevada. But yeah, they're constantly innovating, and he's not just trying to help Wilkie become more efficient. He's trying to help the whole industry with Innergy to do that.
Yeah, no, it's from what we've learned, he really has. It's, Wilkie and Mark and what you guys have done is seems to be really plugged in across the entire millwork industry. And I know that Mark had an opportunity to talk about OpenSpace either at a millwork convention or somewhere, and then all of a sudden we were getting calls from all these millwork groups. So I can tell that y'all have definitely a pulse on your community, and a lot of people trust your word, and I think that's extremely powerful. And from a point you were making, that you guys are continually looking at ways for technology to create more efficiencies. Can you tell us about your experience with OpenSpace and what led you guys to take a look at OpenSpace, and how are things going so far?
So we had a project about 2 years ago that was for Capital One. It was their performing arts center in Tyson's Corner, Virginia. And it was a big theater and, convention center and the works. There's a hotel attached. We weren't part of that, but we were part of this big convention center, which we did win an award for. Mm-hmm. And as we were working through that project, there were a lot of things that we were seeing that, we could improve picture wise, walking through. And this was a huge space. It's basically 11 floors worth of building, and very inside the theater. It didn't seem like there was anything that squared to anything else. It was all rounded woodwork and very intricate and stuff. And so we were trying to figure out a way to make it more efficient about, okay, where are we at from day to day to day? Because, of course, everybody lets the schedule slip until we get to the finished materials. And all of a sudden we're the ones that try to have to clean that up and bring the schedule back. And so they're pushing us and we're pushing everybody else. And we noticed that the contractor had someone walking around with a camera on their helmet. And we're like, you know what, that I could see being efficient. So, I let our installation coordinator know about that. And of course he let Mark know about that. And that's, I think, what got us started looking into it. And we found OpenSpace. And so then we decided to try it on our next big project, which was City Ridge out in Washington, D.C. And we had 6 buildings to do of residential, and then also kind of the open space for residents or anybody else that was coming in for, again, conferences or things like that. And so we thought, okay, this is another way for us to really kind of put this through its paces. And so that's really what got us started in OpenSpace.
So you brought up a point about you guys are at the end of the project, coming in, doing your work. In a lot of ways, a risk is really put on your plate because of just where you are on the schedule of the project. So sounds like CYA is a big aspect of why you use OpenSpace. Over your time using it, what would you say the biggest value is? Is it really just CYA for the Wilkie Sanderson perspective, or have you guys found other ways that you've been able to use OpenSpace to help as a Millwork group?
Well, as we started using it, we could see how things were progressing. We do a lot of subcontracting for the installation, and me as a superintendent just goes out and oversees all the installation. So it helps us deal with our subcontractors that we have. It helps us deal with damage control because we could walk through and, everything's pristine, which, if there's something that I wish is that the camera's even more detailed than it is. I think it's a 4K picture, the camera that we're running right now. But even then, it's like trying to zoom in to possibly where we've had damage issues. And there's some that was big damage that they're like, oh, you guys installed this terrible. And we're like, no, when it was installed, look, here it is. So, I mean, it's been protection that way. It's been showing that our, if we have an issue with a subcontractor, we can say, look, this is how long it took your guys to install this. This is where they were from the first time we made the walk to the second time we made the walk. And so we can tell them, okay, you guys either need to pick it up or whatever the case may be. We've been able to use it, both sides with the contractor and subcontractors. And, just if we've got concerns, we've always been able to go back into the past to see where things are at and have not just, okay, I took a picture from this angle and that's all I've got.
Yeah.
And it's like, hindsight's 2020. It's hard to, oh man, I wish I would have taken one, turn 30 degrees to the left. It would have been perfect. You just can't foresee a lot of things. And so we found OpenSpace to be kind of that pick up the slack where you just can't foresee the future of what angle you're going to need.
Yeah, no, you bring up a good point. It's I had a customer tell me that when they were doing 2D photos before OpenSpace, you take the picture and you get like 30% of the picture you actually need. But really, like if you have 4 different subcontractors bring their pictures to the table, they can all kind of move the pictures and create a story, their own different story. So there was 4 different stories based off the same area of just the 2D pictures everyone was looking at. And you bring up a point where like you can now just use OpenSpace to talk with another subcontractor about why, either they're wrong or this is what actually happened. Where a consistent story I hear is just like, we're in less yelling matches. We yell a lot less. Like you can't refute a 360 visual digital twin. Like
it goes from your word against theirs to this is what really happened, or this is what the way it really was. And say, oh, well, you're right, I screwed up, or no, you're wrong. Look, you screwed up.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's those small things that you don't even really consider when you're evaluating a solution like OpenSpace. But one of the things that I always like to understand from groups is when I talk with a lot of people in the trade world, the struggle with technology is it's adoption, right? Adoption from the field. Is my field going to use it? And you were talking, you were telling me earlier, like you're a field supervisor, you're out traveling 300 days a year, working with these guys and making sure things get done, and they're busy. Like their job is to install the work. And it's hard to put some technology in their hand and say, not only do you need to install work, but you need
to learn
data, and it's like another job, right? So what has that experience been like for your field team in adopting a technology like OpenSpace?
Well, we do have some of those guys that are just like, I don't like the emails, or I don't, they have an abhorrence to technology. We do have those guys, but it's one of those, look, we got to do this. And so you kind of not force them, but you're like, okay, you got to step up here. For me, it's actually never been an issue. Even before we had OpenSpace, as Wilkie Sanderson was using their program site manager, I was working directly with our IT guy, that if I had an issue, I would bring it up. I wouldn't just say, okay, we're having an issue when I push this button, this screen shows up. What can you do? I mean, I would be very intricate about what happened to bring that screen up. And that was more helpful to him. So I kind of became his bug tester when it came to some of the technology out in the field. And he'd go, okay, I've switched this up. Tell me how it works, Dave. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of, I've never been against technology. So I think that's also helped in helping move this on.
Yeah.
I know we still have one PM that we let the project managers just determine which projects get to use, or if they want, OpenSpace to be used on their project. And I told our general manager, I said, I get why we're doing that. It's their project, but unless there's something in the contract saying that we can't picture something, I know we've got a big job like Churchill Downs in Kentucky, where they may not want all the back rooms being photographed or whatever. When you deal with high stakes gambling, you don't want to give out all this information about the background and how things happen. So I understand some of that, but to me, not only does this protect us, but this also protects the contractor. And so a lot of them, I don't think have an issue with us doing it. Mm-hmm. So I would love to see us go on our at least the big projects. Because those tend to be the ones that when you have a small problem, it can usually snowball into a big problem. And the bigger the project, the bigger the snowball. And so just for protection alone in documenting things, this is so much easier than trying to write in everything. Okay, we did door number this, or we did countertop here, we did elevation XYZ. This, you walk by it, it has a date, it has what's been done, and it's easy enough. Maybe some of them don't like looking like the dork with the camera on their head. In fact, most of the trades that I see, it's usually the low man on the totem pole doing it. But I'm like, hey, I don't care what you call me. I just saved our company $10,000 with just that one walk. So, hey, call me what you will. I'm a money saver.
It's usually the same story we hear every time. The guy's like, I'm not going to use this. Until that first time it actually saves him the yelling match in a weekly meeting. He's like, all right, like I see it.
I'm sold.
Yeah, I'll wear this thing as much as I possibly can if I can save the company some money. So I think this is a good opportunity to bring up one of your projects. You were telling me earlier about a story on a specific project, and do you have that available to share with everybody?
I do. I can pull it up.
Yeah, so what we're going to do for the audience, David's going to pull up a project. And what I'd love for you to do, David, is kind of just give us a run through of the project, how you navigate through it, and give us the story of, where OpenSpace brought you value on this specific project, similar to what you were telling me earlier. I know the audience would love to hear that.
All right. So here's that project City Ridge that I've been talking about. And as you can see down at the bottom, the date of this picture was July 19th, 2020. This is towards the end as we're trying to wrap up. We're finishing stuff in the grand hall behind there, installing that decorative work in the back, but you can see the desk that's kind of somewhat in the foreground there. It's all wrapped up, protected and everything. It was about this time that the electrician that told us that we missed a wire. And I said, well, what are you talking about? Because I went back to the time a couple times before this and go back through some of these dates here. You can see it kind of finished there. I went back and you can see there's a wire back there on that concrete wall.
Mm-hmm.
Right there. I was like, we got that wire. What are you talking about? And he goes, nope, we're missing something else there. And as we go back in dates here, you can see way back, I had to go back to May 5th on one of my walks. Boom, right in the middle of the floor there, you can see there's an electrical box. Our guys missed installing that. And so I'm like, oh, great. So now I need to find it under a countertop that already had all the stone and everything put on it. So it's not like we just move it. And because I know how wide those floor protection pads are, it's roughly about 6 feet away from that wall. And because of that, we were able to find it with minimal infiltration through our cabinets and get their computers wired up that they needed to through that box. So, I mean, that alone saved us from having to tear off stone and getting down to find where this electrical box was, or at the very minimum, tear apart cabinet, which would have been worse. So
it's such a strong story, and it's like you just walking me through that, just the ease of it. Is this like do you see this as like the main theme that you use OpenSpace when you and your team are capturing sites and what you're looking for?
It's always come back to, if I were to put a main reason why we do this, what we end up with a lot of contractors, especially at the schedule time that we get pulled into this, we're the ones that are trying to make up the time of the schedule slippage. And they're constantly telling us how we're holding people behind. Mm-hmm. So this has been an advantage for us because we can go back and say, look, you guys weren't ready for us. Don't tell me we're holding everybody up when your drywall or your framer hasn't gotten this fixed. I think OpenSpace also has an area to do notes.
The field notes? Yeah.
Yeah. And so
let me see. Tell us about your experience using those.
So, I mean, this is where we usually put in, like this one. They keep telling us, you guys need to install it. You need to install that. Well, you guys need to cut this header back. And you've known this, here it is, March 26th. They've known this since the 21st, so at least 5 days, and they've been harassing us that entire week. So I show them, I said, look, you guys have known about this. I even had it drawn on there. So it's stuff like that where we've been able to put these notes in there of what the pictures were for. A lot of them is this one. There's the fire alarm system. You can see where it was next to our panel. They kept telling us, don't install the panel, don't install the panel, don't install the panel. And it's like, okay, the building's almost done. We're done. So we installed the panel and says, look, if you need us to take it back off, we're going to charge you for it. We've given you plenty of time. So, so it's just these notes that we mark when we've told them when we've done it. So the notes work in helping us out there. I mean, this was a high priority. that outlet next to where the painter's guy, we had a bench that sat there, and that outlet basically sat right where our cushion was supposed to be. I'm like, you can't tell me that's right, guys. And it took them probably a month to get that one adjusted. So it's one of those, when they come, well, you're holding us up, you're not getting this done. I said, no, we're not. And I could show them this and the date, and it's like, you guys have known about this. So we like that. And then there's also where on the other end where they're like, okay, you guys haven't had this done. You're holding people up, and we can go back here and say, look, this has been done since such and such a date. We're not holding you up. You guys just think we're holding you up.
Yeah.
So it's
one thing that shows. Go ahead.
It's protected our company quite a bit in some of the accusations and just getting the contractor to, okay, you're right. I mean,
yeah. Well, I also think one thing it shows, like from more of like even like a proactive standpoint, like the way you talk about this, and I hear this consistently from other groups, is with OpenSpace and this full 100%, every single inch is captured, right? You don't just have one photo with 30% captured. Like, information is power. And when you can bring that up you just showed me within 10 to 30 seconds, you're like leading a conversation. You're leading the conversation on the job site. And that's exactly what one of my fireside chats we recently did. That was what what was his name? I can't remember, but a drywall group, senior PM, was like, I feel like I'm just leading the conversations now, weekly meetings, when disputes arise, like everyone's like, okay, let's just bring up OpenSpace. Do you feel like
on that same project, we've been doing this, and then it's like a few months after, when I was walking around doing one of my walks, here comes the electrician with a camera. I'm like, yeah. Is that OpenSpace? Yeah. He didn't know. He was just, like I said, the low man on the totem pole, told to walk around with his camera on his head. Yeah. But, I find it funny that, yeah, because when I bring that to the electrician show, here, he's like, okay, we're not going to be stuck behind this 8 ball.
Yeah. No, it's good. And I think having a partnership with a group like Wilkie Sanderson, who really is on the cutting edge of technology, and even creating your own technology that has become extremely valuable and popular within the entire millwork industry is partnerships we definitely value. And it's awesome to hear your stories. And I know a lot of people are going to find this extremely valuable. And just want to thank you for your time.
Yeah, well, I hope that if there is anybody that's sitting on the fence, that this is more than worth what you pay for it. It's saved us the amount we pay for it a number of times over. So
nice. We appreciate those kind words, and we look forward to continuing this partnership. It's like I said, it's one we value, and it's even more exciting when a group like Wilkie is really on the cutting edge, because it's the people that work there are always looking at ways to explore how the technology can be used in different ways, and it's what helps us innovate and drive. And I'm sure we're going to be helping each other for a number of years to come. So yeah, David, appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.